It started out like any other anniversary. I had been looking forward to celebrating 10 years with her, the girl I'd trusted with my life, the one I thought knew me better than anyone. We had plans. Dinner at that little Italian place she loved, a quiet night at home with a bottle of wine and a gift I'd picked out months ago. The kind of night you think is supposed to reaffirm everything you've built together. But as I sat there, waiting for her to come out of the shower, something felt off. I was fiddling with my phone, just killing time, when I saw a flicker of movement in her side pocket. I thought it was just her phone vibrating, but then I noticed the way her phone was lying. It was face down, screen trembling slightly with every breath she took. That's when I spotted it, her messages half open, the screen illuminating her face in the dim room. My stomach clenched. I hesitated, then leaned closer. I saw her name pop up on the screen, her best friend, Mark. The messages weren't just casual chat. No, they were more flirty, intimate, things you don't say unless you're crossing a line. I read a few snippets, the words like daggers stabbing my chest. Wish you were here, can't stop thinking about last night, miss you so much. I stared at it, stunned, my mind reeling. How could she, on our anniversary of all nights? My hands went numb, palms sweaty. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'd always thought Mark was just her friend, the guy she called when she needed a drink after work or to vent about her boss. I never imagined, never wanted asterisk to imagine, that they'd be doing something behind my back. I felt this hot rush of betrayal, like a punch to the gut that knocked the wind out of me. I closed her phone slowly, silently, trying to hold back the surge of anger. Every nerve in my body was on fire. I wanted to scream, to shake her awake and demand an explanation, but I didn't. Instead, I sat there just staring at the screen, feeling the weight of all the years slipping away, piece by piece. How could I have missed the signs? The late nights, the secrecy, the little things she brushed off as nothing. I felt stupid and betrayed all. At once, the room felt too small, my chest tight, every breath shallow. I clenched my fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. My mind was racing. What now? I knew this wasn't just about a message. It was about trust, about everything I thought was real crumbling in front of me. I wondered how long it had been going on, how many moments I'd missed, how many times I'd been blind to the truth. The pain was sharp, but beneath it was a cold, rising fury. I had to decide what to do next. I looked back at her, still in the shower, oblivious to what I'd just uncovered. My fingers curled into fists. I could confront her, or I could wait, gather my thoughts, figure out exactly what I was going to say. But deep down, I knew this was the beginning of something that would change everything forever. I wanted to believe she loved me, that she was telling the truth when she said she cared. But those messages, they shattered that fragile illusion in an instant. I stayed there, staring at the door, listening to the rush of water, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. I knew my next move had to be careful. I couldn't just explode, not yet. Not until I knew exactly how much she had lied, how deep this went. Still, the urge to confront her right then and there was almost overwhelming. The night had been perfect in my mind, and now it was a mess of broken trust and unanswered questions. As I sat there, the room grew colder, and I felt the first flicker of that dark resolve that would eventually push me to take revenge. But for now, I just stared at the door, waiting for her to come out, knowing that nothing would be the same again. "Do you want me to continue?" She finally stepped out of the shower, the steam still clinging to the air, curling around her like a fog I couldn't clear. She looked at me, her face flushed, hair damp and clinging to her skin. She smiled, maybe trying to pretend everything was fine, normal even. "Hey, babe, sorry I took so long. The shower was perfect after such a busy day." Her voice was soft, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the tremor underneath. I did say anything at first. I just looked at her, my mind spinning, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can we talk?" I finally managed, my throat dry. She nodded, a little nervous now, and sat on the edge of the bed. I kept my eyes on her, trying to gauge what she might already suspect, how much I knew, how close I was to calling her out. "What's going on?" she asked, voice hesitant. "You seem distant tonight." I took a deep breath, feeling my heart pounding against my ribs. I was cold, so cold that I could hardly feel my hands. I reached into my pocket and pulled out her phone, placing it on the bed between us. I saw these, I said, voice flat but trembling with anger. I slid her phone across the bed toward her. Care to explain? Her eyes widened, and for a split second she looked genuinely surprised. Then the realization sank in. She reached out, hesitated, then snatched the phone. Her fingers trembled as she looked at the screen. The words I'd read earlier, they were all there, glaring back at her. Her face went pale. "That's not what it looks like," she said, voice cracking. "It's just a bad joke, a misunderstanding, I swear." I shook my head, staring right into her eyes. "A misunderstanding? After hearing you tell Mark last night how much you miss him, that's not a joke." My voice was sharper now. "You've been lying to me, haven't you? All this time, pretending you're faithful. How long has this been going on?" She looked down, tears pooling but her face still trying to hold some kind of composure. "It's not what you think. It just happened. We got carried away one night. I didn't mean for it to go any further. I swear it was a mistake. Please, I didn't want you to find out like this." That's when I felt the knot tighten in my stomach. The betrayal wasn't just about the messages. It was the way she looked at me now, like I was some stranger she'd made peace with. I clenched my fists again, my nails digging into my palms. "A mistake," I repeated bitterly. "That's what you call it. Every late night, every secret message, you just slipped up." Her eyes welled with tears and she reached out, trying to touch my arm. "I love you. I never meant to hurt you. I was stupid. I was weak, but I want to fix this. We can work through it." I stepped back, feeling the rage bubble up. "Fix it?" I echoed. "You think a sorry and some tears will make this okay? You think I'll just forgive and forget after this, after everything?" She started to sob softly, her hands trembling as she tried to grab my wrists. "Please, don't do this. Don't throw away what we have." I pushed her hands away, my mind already spinning with what I needed to do. I couldn't just storm out. I needed a plan. I needed to make her understand that crossing me like this had consequences, that she couldn't just brush it off and go back to her life without paying a price. I'd always been the forgiving type, but this was different. It wasn't just a fling. It was a breach of everything I believed in. I looked her in the eyes, my voice cold but deliberate. "You've got one night to tell me everything. Every detail. Who else knew? How long this has been going on, because I want the truth and I want it now. After that, we'll see what's left of us." She nodded slowly, her face streaked with tears, eyes filled with regret and fear. "Okay, I'll tell you everything." As she started to speak, I felt a strange mixture of relief and dread. Relief that she was finally honest, and dread that I knew I'd have to do something I'd never done before. I didn't want to be that guy. Revenge was petty. I'd never believed in it. But now I was starting to think I'd need to be. And I already knew I wasn't going to let this slide. Not without a fight. "Do you want me to continue?" She took a shaky breath and then spilled everything. It was like watching a dam burst, her words tumbling out in a rush, every detail spilling over the edge. She admitted to the affair with Mark, how it started about 6 months ago at a work event, then gradually just grew. Said it was a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen, but she didn't deny the depth of it, how often they'd seen each other, the things they'd done behind my back. I sat there, listening, feeling like I was listening to a stranger's story. My stomach turned as I heard her describe their secret meetings, the stolen moments, the lies. She said she'd felt trapped, confused, and that Mark was just someone she'd turned to for comfort. At least, that's what she convinced herself at the time. But she also admitted to continuing it even after we'd celebrated our anniversary, which made my fists tighten. "You've been lying to me all this time," I said, voice like gravel. "Pretending everything's fine while you're out with him, sneaking around behind my back. How many nights did you spend with him, huh? How many times did I come home to an empty bed?" She looked down, tears streaming down her cheeks, shoulders shaking. "I didn't want to hurt you. I was stupid. I thought I could stop, but I couldn't. It's not about love anymore. It's just convenience. I was weak." I clenched my jaw. "Weak? That's your excuse. You're married, my wife. You're supposed to be my partner, not some secret toy for him to play with. Did you think I would find out that I wouldn't see the messages?" Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, I swear. I was just lost and he was there. I didn't think it would ruin everything." I felt the bile rising in my throat. My mind raced with images, her in his arms, the lies they told each other, the betrayal carved into the very fabric of what I thought we had. I rubbed my hands over my face, trying to keep calm, but the anger was bubbling up fast. I needed a plan. This wasn't just about her cheating. This was about the principle, about who I was and what I was willing to accept. "You're telling me this now?" I asked, voice sharper than I intended. "After I've been nothing but loyal, after all these years, this is your way of saying sorry?" She reached out, desperation clear in her eyes. "Please, I love you. I don't want to lose everything over this. I'll do whatever it takes, counseling, whatever. Just don't throw me away." I looked at her through narrowed eyes. "You think I can just forgive this? That I can forget all those nights you were with him, that I can trust you again?" Her tears turned into loud sobs and she pressed her hands against her face. "I don't know how to fix this. I'm so sorry. Please just give me another chance." That's when I realized I couldn't, not anymore. I trusted her, believed in us, but it was the end of the road. I felt this cold resolve settle over me, something I'd never really felt before. I had to decide what game I was going to play now. I stood up slowly. "You want to fix this? Fine, but I need to make sure you understand exactly what you've done. I'm not just going to walk away and pretend it never happened. You're going to help me get what I need." Her eyes looked desperate. "What do you mean?" "I'm going to find out everything. Every message, every secret meeting, every lie, and then we'll see what's left of us." I paused, voice firm. "Tonight, I start planning my revenge. And you do well to remember, trust is gone. You don't get it back that easily." She looked like she wanted to say something, but only managed a trembling "please." I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her sitting there, broken and crying. My mind was clear, cold, focused. I knew I'd start by gathering evidence, mapping out every detail, every conversation. Because once I had everything, I'd know exactly how to make her pay without crossing into anything violent or destructive. Just enough to make her feel what she'd made me feel. The taste of ash filled my mouth as I sat in the living room, staring at her phone, waiting for the right moment. I knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming what she'd stolen from me, the trust, the years, the future I thought was ours. This was war, and I was ready to fight. "Do you want me to continue?" That night I didn't sleep. Instead, I stayed up, my mind spinning with every detail I could remember, every text, every missed sign, every moment I had ignored. I had to be methodical. This wasn't about rage. It was about making her understand she'd broken something I couldn't fix with apologies. I needed leverage, undeniable proof, and a plan that would leave her with no way to deny the truth. I started by digging into her phone more thoroughly. I knew I'd find more than just the texts I'd seen, hidden photos, deleted messages, maybe even some secret apps she used to communicate. I turned on her iPad, her laptop, anything she might have used. I wasn't going to leave a stone unturned. Her password was just her birthday, so it didn't take long. As I sifted through her messages, I felt my stomach tighten at the things I uncovered. There were more texts, flirtatious, suggestive, downright obscene at times. I found a folder labeled "Mark" on her cloud storage, hidden deep in the files, buried under years of junk. Inside there were photos, some innocent enough, but others not so much. I saw her with her hair falling across her face, lips slightly parted, the kind of images that made my fists clench again. It was evidence, undeniable. I also discovered there were appointments she'd scheduled with him, times she'd lied about being at work. I made screenshots of everything, sending them to myself so I'd have backup. I already felt the weight of betrayal pressing down, but now I had concrete proof. I knew this was going to change everything, and I needed to be ready. When dawn broke, I finally decided what I'd do next. I had everything I needed, the text exchanges, photos, schedules. The game was set and I was about to make my move. But first I had to create a story, a narrative she wouldn't be able to deny. I needed to make her realize that her secrets were no longer safe, that her lies had caught up with her, and that I knew. I wanted her to feel vulnerable. I went back into the bedroom where she was still asleep, her face pale and streaked with tears. Carefully, I slipped her phone out of her hand, checked the messages one last time, then powered off her devices. I left her a note on the pillow. "We need to talk. Big changes are coming." I knew she'd be awake soon. She'd start to sense that I was onto her, that I'd uncovered more than just those initial texts. I wanted her to know I was serious. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't going to let her get away with this easily. A part of me felt sick, but another part, an angry, vengeful part, was relieved. I'd spent years trusting her blindly. Now I was finally waking up. This wasn't just about infidelity, it was about reclaiming my dignity and standing up for what I deserved. When she finally stirred, she looked around, confused. I sat at the table, arms crossed, waiting for her to speak. She looked at me, her eyes red and swollen. "What are you doing?" I took a deep breath. "I found everything. The messages, the photos, the plans. You've been hiding a whole life from me, and I want to know what's next." She looked like she was about to fall apart, her lips trembling. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I swear I was stupid. I love you, I do." I shook my head slowly, feeling the cold fire inside me. "Love, is that why you lied, why you cheated? Because love makes you do stupid things." Her shoulders sagged and she looked at her hands. I don't know what to say. I was so lost, I didn't think about us anymore. That was the moment I realized I couldn't keep pretending. It was time to act. I pulled out the folder with evidence I'd gathered, laid it on the table. "Here, what I know, you're going to pack your things and leave today. I want you out of this house by tonight, and don't bother calling me. I need space." Her eyes widened in shock. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," I said. "You chose him over us. That's not something I can forgive. Not now, not ever." She looked like she wanted to argue, to plead, but I held up my hand. "No, no more excuses. It's over." I grabbed the keys from the counter, the final piece of the puzzle. As I turned to leave, she called after me, voice breaking, "Please, don't do this, we can fix it." I paused at the doorway, my heart pounding. "No, we can't, not anymore, goodbye." And with that, I left her standing there, tears streaming down her face. I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I had taken back some control, but at what cost? I knew this was just the beginning, but I was done pretending. It was time to move on, and I'd never let her do this to me again. Next part. Walking out the door with her keys in my hand, I felt a weight lifting, but also a hollow ache deep in my chest. The house was silent now, the kind of silence that screams. I knew I'd made the right decision, but that didn't stop the gnawing feeling inside, questioning everything I believed about her, about us. I'd trusted her with my life, and she had repaid that trust with secrets and lies. That betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. I went straight to the car, the cool metal of the keys feeling foreign in my hand. I sat there for a moment, listening to my own breathing, trying to ground myself. I replayed her face when I told her to leave, her eyes wide with shock, her lips trembling, like she'd finally realized she'd lost everything. Good. She deserved to feel that loss. I knew I had to do something to cap this off, to make sure she never thought she could get away with it again. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my boundaries. I had given her every chance to come clean, to fix what she broke. Instead, she chose to hide, to lie. Now she was getting what she deserved. I pulled out my phone and started drafting a message, not just to her, but to everyone who needed to hear the truth. I wanted her to know I wasn't going to be the fool anymore, that I was taking control of my story. The message read, "To everyone who cares, my wife cheated on me with my best friend. It happened at our anniversary of all times. I found out last night through her phone. I don't know how long this has been going on, but I do know she betrayed me in the worst way. I'm done. If you're her friend, consider your own choices. I'm moving on." I hesitated before hitting send. Part of me wanted to keep it private, to handle it quietly. But I realized that wouldn't serve justice. The world deserved to know what she'd done, and I needed to reclaim my story. That's what revenge was, taking control, exposing the truth, making her face what she'd hidden. After I sent it, I sat back and exhaled slowly. I felt a strange calm settle over me. Was this really the end, or just the beginning of something new? I didn't have all the answers, but I knew I had to move forward somehow. I started making calls to the few friends I trusted, telling them what happened. I needed support, but I also needed witnesses. I wanted them to see her for what she was, a liar, a cheat, someone who broke us in ways I never expected. I could feel the anger simmering just beneath the surface. That anger was fuel now, propelling me toward the next step. Later that evening, I returned to the house. It was strange, walking back into the empty shell of what used to be our life together. I packed some essentials, leaving behind everything that reminded me of her: photos, mementos, the old boxes of memories we'd shared. I took only what I needed and left the rest behind, a symbolic act of moving forward. I went to a friend's place, a safe space where I could breathe and process. As I sat there, the silence finally settled into a kind of clarity. I realized I'd spent so long trying to be the good guy, to hold everything together, that I'd forgotten I deserved better, that I deserved honesty, respect, loyalty. In that moment I knew what I had to do: cut all ties, start fresh, rebuild my life without her. I picked up my phone, opened a new message draft and typed, "It's over, I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. No more lies, no more betrayal. I'm taking back control of my life." I paused, then added one last line: "Revenge isn't about hurting her, it's about reclaiming my peace." I hit send. The relief I felt was immediate, even if the pain still lingered. It hurt to lose what I thought was forever, but I knew staying would only drag me down. It was time for a new beginning, one where I set the boundaries everyone else would respect. Tomorrow I'd start the legal process. Today I'd just breathe and remind myself that I was stronger than this betrayal. I had to be, because no matter how deep the hurt, I refused to let her define me anymore. The next morning I woke up feeling lighter than I had in months. The weight of her betrayal still lingered, but at least now I had some clarity. I had made the decision to divorce, to end the chapter that had haunted me. It was hard, no denying that, but somehow I knew it was the right thing. I wasn't going to be her punching bag anymore, not for her lies, not for her mistakes. I was reclaiming my life piece by piece. I called my lawyer first thing. The conversation was straightforward. I explained everything, handed over the evidence I'd gathered, and started the process of filing. I didn't want her to think I was doing this out of spite. I wanted her to understand she'd lost the best thing she ever had because of her own choices. That was the real revenge, to walk away knowing I was better off without the poison she brought into my life. As I packed up the last of what I wanted to keep, I felt a strange sense of closure. The house that once felt like home now felt hollow, but I wasn't going to let that define me. I locked the door behind me, turned away from what used to be my life, and stepped into whatever was next. I told a few close friends about what had happened, how I'd finally taken control. Their responses ranged from anger at her to admiration for my strength. It wasn't about proving anything, but I appreciated their support. I knew I'd needed to rebuild, to remember that I was still me, worthy, whole, and capable of love again someday. The aftermath was messy, of course. She tried to reach out, to apologize, to beg for a second chance. I ignored her calls, blocked her on social media, and made it clear I wasn't interested in any of her manipulations. I didn't want to be bitter, but I also knew that I couldn't trust her again. Not after what she'd done. Over time, I focused on myself. I started therapy, something I'd put off for too long. I learned to process my feelings, to forgive myself for trusting her so blindly. Slowly, I regained confidence, started dating again. Nothing serious yet, just small steps. It was uncomfortable, confusing even, but also freeing. I was finally doing what I should have done years ago, putting myself first. Looking back, I realized that what hurt most wasn't just the cheating. It was the betrayal of trust, the feeling that I'd been played for a fool. But that pain turned into a lesson. I learned I need to listen to my gut, to recognize red flags before they grow into something destructive. Never again will I ignore the signs, because love isn't supposed to hurt like this. And now I sit here, sharing my story because I want anyone out there to know: if someone betrays you, you don't have to suffer in silence. You have the power to walk away, to start fresh, to take back control of your life. Revenge isn't about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming your peace and dignity. Her keys are on the table now, an empty symbol of the life we once had. I've handed over the divorce papers. The house is sold, the memories boxed away. I've closed that chapter with a firm, clear ending. What I want anyone reading this to remember is simple: trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Love is built on honesty, respect, and loyalty. If those are missing, so is the foundation. Walk away before it destroys you. And me, I'll be fine. Better than fine. Because I finally chose myself. And that's the best revenge of all.